Hello everybody and welcome to this lesson from Miss Duckworth's classroom. Today we're going to be looking at how to write up a response to the literature extract question, and this is part 2 of a 2-part series, and this is on the novel Purple Hibiscus for the IGCSE CIE 0475 or 0992. So what do we do in part 1? So in part 1 we looked at how to deconstruct the question, interpret what it means, just to understand what it is that we're looking for. We then looked at how to understand the extract's significance and how to try and analyse in time conditions. We annotated for a range of techniques and language, and then we made sure that we had a plan. So at this point we have a clear plan, we have quotations that we want to use, and now we just need to know how to formulate all of our ideas into an essay. This was our plan, just to remind you. So if you're not sure how we got to this stage, or you did miss part 1, I would recommend that you go back and have a look at how we got to the point of being able to get a plan. We've got the key words here in the plan that we're going to be using. So we've got power, fearlessness, tension, conflict, silence, speech. All of these are big ideas as well. So they're all really going to drive our essay and make sure that the examiner knows that we fully understand the significance of the novel itself, as well as the extract. Just to remind you, this is where we got to with regards to annotating the extract. Now obviously I've not annotated every single thing. You will be able to do that for yourself, but I've just given you an example of how I would annotate, and obviously I would finish this and go through for all the different quotations that I've numbered. These are the ones that I have selected, but I've just done the quotations that I would use for point 1, just so you can say what it is that I would say about them. So how do we structure our essay? So this is my suggested essay structure. You may have a way that works for you, and that is absolutely fine. You do just want to make sure that you go through all the different elements of an essay in terms of the assessment objectives and what you're being assessed on with regards to the mark scheme. And that's kind of why I've gone through the structure of each point over here. I've really broken it down in terms of the skills that you should demonstrate in order to make sure that you're hitting that top band. So introduction, even if your introduction is only short, it is a good way to start an essay. It does give a clear indication that you have understood the extract, the novel, the question, and that you have got some ideas that you're going to talk about. And then you've got your main body, you've got point 1, point 2, point 3, and you can see that that's what I'm going for with regards to my plan. I tend to just stick to 3 points here for the main body, because I like to talk about more than one quotation in depth, rather than go through several short points that are a little bit sparse in terms of their analysis. I like to really try and develop the analysis for 3 points. And this is what each point should include. And again, I'm not going to read through everything here, but I've just given you a range of how, why questions that really guide you and prompt you to take your ideas further. And if you've got time for a conclusion, you can just write a couple of lines like, what have you proven with regards to the question? In this instance, the question is, what's the significance, or how does the DJ present the significance of this moment in the novel? So what have you proven in terms of why it's significant? Have you learnt anything from the extract? Can you link back to any keywords in the question? Think about what Adichie is maybe trying to show the reader. What does she want you to understand? So this is my introduction, and just to remind you, this is the question: how does Adichie make this such a significant moment in the novel? So I've got my introduction here, but I've also broken it down for you so you can just see the process here. Also, I've given you some academic language here that helps with introduction writing. These words also help throughout the main body of your essay as well, but really you can use them just to indicate where you're going with this essay, but also shows that you've got a good understanding of author intention as well. So we've got adverbs here to help you as well as verbs, and you'll see where I've used them myself. So this introduction is structured in terms of why the extract is significant, why is it key, why is it important. Then I've got an overview of the ideas that will be covered in my essay. All of these are keywords that I took from the plan. I kept saying to you that all of those notes that I'd made, they will come in useful later on. All of those are keywords that you can pepper throughout your essay. And then at the end of my introduction, I've just gone for just one sentence on what Adichie is doing here in this extract and why she's doing it. So we have, in this extract, Adichie accurately engages the reader by presenting a new and significant family dynamic. So I've understood what's happening here in this extract. Through the introduction of Auntie Ifeoma, Adichie is able to explore the power exhibited by Papa as well as challenge and question his authority. So I'm talking here about the methods used by Adichie, but also the effect of those methods, what she's actually doing. So we have this method of introducing a character, but why does she do it and what do we learn? Adichie portrays Auntie Ifeoma to be just as powerful as Papa, and unlike the rest of his family, she does not cower in his presence. By contrasting these characters and the effect they have on those around them, Adichie also captures the conflict and tension present in post-colonial Nigeria. So I'm showing what she's doing and the significance of what she's doing. So we're going to look at part of a model answer, and it's just going to be focused on point 1. So you can see how I've gone through the entire process of making notes, identifying the quotations that I want to use, annotating those quotations, and then putting it into my essay. So I'm not going to go through the full essay here, it would take far too long, but I am just going to go through the first section. So this is my section 1, and just to remind you, my point here is Adichie effectively presents the power and fearlessness of Auntie Ifeoma and the effect this has on Kambili. Down the side here I've got a checklist. Now I put the checklist here just so not only are you able to see how I'm hitting the different assessment objectives and how I'm demonstrating those different skills that are required for a high grade here, but also so you can have this checklist for yourself. You know, when you're writing up your own essays, you can have this checklist near you or try and remember what's on the checklist, and it just prompts you to take your ideas further. So we have a relevant point that shows understanding and also reference to point throughout, and this also is the red bit, consistent focus on the question. Evidence, so these are your quotations. It should be introduced and embedded, and again, if you're not sure how to introduce and embed your quotations, I have a micro lesson that explains exactly how to do this in a really easy way. Effect on the reader should have analysis, which is doubled up if you can. When I say doubling up, I mean, can you talk about more than one aspect of a quotation? Think about language choices. What language stands out to you? What does it suggest? What are the connotations? Why has it been used? Can you interpret meaning? And can you layer your interpretation? So whenever I refer to layering your interpretation, it's you saying, well, I think it means this, however, it could also suggest this. And I did layer my own interpretation when I was annotating my own extract for the second quotation that I chose in terms of Auntie Ifeoma, and it was the quotation to do with the exaggerated formality, and I'd put several different things that I wanted to say about that one quotation, and that was me developing my interpretation and adding layers to it. We also have writer's intention, so what is Adichie doing? Why is she doing it? What does she want you to understand? And context, again, only use context if it's relevant. Some added extras, different academic phrases that you can use. I also showed you some nice academic words that you could use when I looked over the introduction with you. But also, just to kind of heighten the sophistication of your writing, linking phrases. How are you transitioning from one idea to another? How are you showing that your ideas are fluid and they're all progressing from the previous one? There should be a development within your essay. You shouldn't be just moving mindlessly from one idea to another. There should be some form of progression. Okay, so let's have a look. As the extract begins, Adichie effectively presents a conflict of power as well as the fearlessness of Auntie Ifeoma and the effect this has on Kambili. So this is my point. Shows that I understand the extract, what's happening and the significance. The interaction between brother and sister is initiated by Auntie Ifeoma asking her brother if Kambili and Jaja can stay with her. When he does not respond as she wants, she shouts, "Eugene." Now notice how all of this is me introducing the situation here and then embedding the quotation. It is this abrupt and forceful reaction that troubles Kambili, as she notes that every time Auntie Ifeoma spoke to Papa, my heart stopped, then started again in a hurry. So I've got two quotations here in close succession. You don't have to analyse every single quotation. Some of your quotations you're probably just going to use as reference points or to develop something that you're going to say about a second quotation. So I actually couldn't really get to this quotation without prefacing it with the fact that she shouts his name. The fact that Auntie Ifeoma's words have such a physical effect on Kambili suggests to the reader, so here I'm talking about the reader, that she holds as much power as Papa, and all of the red here are consistent focus on the question and consistent focus here on my own key word. So my point, my reference to the question is that I'm here talking about power. You can see I've stated it up here, and I'm just continuing this idea all the way through whenever you see the red. In addition, the use of commas here to separate the sentence into 3 clauses could also indicate Cambili's panic, as the sentence itself lacks the natural flow. So here we've got our analysis. Just as Cambili's heart's natural flow has been disrupted. It could also be argued, so nice phrases like this show that you're going to develop an interpretation, that Cambili's use of the word heart, so focus on language here, to express her panic and shock shows that she's got an emotional response to Auntie Ifeomi's behaviour as well as a physical one. Perhaps Adichie is attempting to convey to the reader that Papa's control and authority, again, focus on the task and focus on my own point up here, within his own family has become so natural to them that it's part of their very being, just like a heartbeat. So developing my interpretation, but not straying too far from the quotation, so it's still clear that what I'm saying is relevant. It is in this way that we see Cambili's heartbeat, which represents Papa's power, to be disrupted by Auntie Ifeomi. Now notice how this is all very, very relevant to my point about power, about the conflict in power, and about the different power between these characters. Furthermore, this idea of Papa's absolute power being ingrained deep within the family, so here I'm linking, I'm showing that I'm taking this idea of Papa's power through into my next sentence. It's ingrained deep within the family, and it's further reinforced when Cambili states that Papa is different and special. Now notice my quotations here, introduced and embedded, and I've actually only taken the words from the quotation that I need. I've split it up because I don't need the full thing. I just want these 2 words. These words reinforce the conflict within Cambili as we see her clear admiration for a father who can be both violent and controlling. So here I'm focusing on the language and what it suggests, what it helps me to understand. However, this also further develops the idea that she views her father with both fear and awe, which ultimately emphasises the power he has within his own family, a contradictory power which also reflects the corrupt and oppressive power of the military regime in Nigeria. So now, that's probably a nice point to reference context. So thinking about the microcosm of the family and what Papa represents within that. So we don't have to go overboard with our context. We don't need to really go into dates, names, regimes. You're just showing that you understand through this character, through that dynamic, how does that link to something that was happening at the time, and how does that help Adichie to present something to you. This inherent power that Papa has over Cambili is directly contrasted in the extract when Auntie Ifeomi is successful in her attempts to persuade Papa to let the children stay with her. Her final response of, "I have heard you, Eugene," is said with an exaggerated formality. Now again, introduced and embedded quotations, just taking the bits that I need, and I've embedded it nicely into my own sentence so it makes sense. Focus on language here, so the word that really stood out for me was exaggerated, and this is what I made notes on my extract too. The word exaggerated could suggest that she is mocking him. Note my use of the word could shows that I am interpreting meaning here. Could suggest she's mocking him, which reveals her fearlessness, I link back to the question up here, in the face of Papa's apparent power. However, here is now where I'm going to layer my interpretation. So multiple meanings, that this word to me could suggest many things, and I'm going to include it to show the examiner that I can interpret on multiple different levels, and I do understand the significance of language within a novel. It may also show that she's trying to placate him, which implies she is aware of his temperamental nature as well as his love of Western formality. Whilst this may appear to suggest she is acknowledging his power, Adichie may have been highlighting, see we've got the writer intention here, the fact that Auntie Ifeomi knows how to manipulate her brother, therefore presenting a more discreet form of power on her part. So I hope that has helped you, and I'm just going to do a quick rundown of my final tips before we end this session. Final tips from me, clear points, in chronological order if possible, so think about where the quotations appear in the extract. So I've taken my first point, actually starts with the first quotation I came to. I haven't then gone to the second quotation that I came to, but I have started with the initial idea that I feel is presented to me in the extract. Make sure that you're choosing relevant and interesting quotations, again, that you can talk about. You should have a range of quotations that you've got a lot to say about. Aim for 2 to 3 per paragraph or section of your main body essay. Use keywords in the questions or synonyms. So for example, today was significant, so you could also think about important as well. Name and analyze techniques wherever possible. Analyze language choice as well. So even if you've spoken about a sentence or a clause or a simile or a metaphor or a motif, you can also double up that and talk about language as well. Analyze language choice. Think about why words have been chosen, what the connotations are. Layer your analysis wherever you can. Link back to Adichie's message and intention. Use her name throughout to show that you are considering why she has made the choices that she has. Link to the effect on the reader. What are we supposed to understand, feel, think? Use context only if it supports and enhances your ideas. Try and use academic phrases throughout to help you develop your response. And don't forget to check out my lessons to help you with various different skills. They are in the micro lessons playlist on my YouTube channel. You find a range of different skills that can help you with everything that you need in order to write an effective literature essay. So thank you very much for taking part in this lesson. I hope that's helped you to understand how to read and analyse an extract and then to write up your essay response. Thank you very much. Goodbye.